Welcome, everyone. My name is Jeff Smith. I'm a distinguished product manager here at Oracle. And today I'm participating in this data basics chapter on our Model Context Protocol Server, or MCP, where I'll be discussing how you can easily and safely connect your AI agentic frameworks and your favorite AI agents to your Oracle AI database. Today's topic is a personal favorite of mine. We're going to be talking about our MCP server for your Oracle AI databases. MCP servers allow you to safely connect your AI agents to our database using this very new and very popular protocol, MCP. So what does MCP, or what does our MCP server try to address? Your agents, the LLMs they employ, are very, very familiar with databases, relational theory, SQL, and very much understand how Oracle databases work. However, they don't have a way to interact directly with our database. So you can ask a question, it can generate SQL, but then it has nothing to do but to share the SQL for you that you can then go copy and paste into Oracle SQL Developer. Then you're going to see the results. And then if you want to share those results back with your agent, you're going to have to paste that back into your AI chat. So the agent kind of loses context, what's happening between its suggestions, its plans it's generating for you, and what's happening inside the database as a result of that code it may have given you. This really breaks up your workflow and it makes things tedious. The Model Context Protocol was introduced in 2024 and reached very wide adoption in 2025. It allows for a universal connector for AI agents and applications to be able to interact with other files, apps, tools, and even databases. If I'm a developer, I may choose to have several MCP servers integrated with my agent. I could have one for my source code, one for my containers, one for my local file system. I could even have one for my browser developer tools. Combine that with our Oracle database, and now as a full stack developer, I can debug my entire application stack. The agent will be able to interact, see logs, traces, try different scenarios with me across all of those different platforms. Model Context Protocol servers provide agents three different types of things, or what we call primitives. The most important and the most interesting of those are tools. And you can think of tools as sort of the APIs. These are the actions that an agent can instigate by calling it based on what you've asked it to do and the plan that it's going to generate. So if I say, hey, Mr. Agent, I would like to go into my database and find out XYZ, there's a good chance the agent's going to employ its LLM to generate some SQL code to satisfy my request. When it needs to go execute that SQL code, it's going to see that there's a tool provided by our MCP server that allows it to do just that. So the tools are the action items. All right, so let's talk about the MCP server that we've delivered for Oracle Database. I have some good news. It's going to work with any edition of Oracle AI Database, including our free edition, and it's going to work on any supported version of the Oracle AI Database. So currently, right now, that's 19C, 21C, 23AI, and 26AI. And even better, it's going to work anywhere your database is deployed, whether that's in a local container, whether that's in your local data center, whether that's in our cloud or one of the other hyperscaler clouds. As long as we have network connectivity to the database, the MCP server is going to be available. And best of all, this is all free and included with your default developer tools. So we've implemented our MCP server as a feature in our already popular command line interface, Oracle SQLcl. So Oracle SQLcl can now be started up and ran as a MCP server. It's going to run locally on your machine, and your agent's going to communicate with that over standard input-output. So what is SQLcl serving here? What is it providing? So when SQLcl is running as an MCP server, it's going to be delivering to the agent that it's configured with the tools that it can use. So SQLcl is going to be maintaining a local store of database connections. So that includes your usernames and passwords and necessary certificates. It's going to secure those in local wallets, and it's never going to share those with the agent directly. So when the agent says, "Hey, I want to connect to database X," our MCP server isn't like, "Oh, well, here's username Jeff and his password. Oracle's the best database ever, 1, 2, 3 exclamation point." No, instead it's going to say, "Okay, let me go make that connection for you and do that on your behalf." So it's sort of a proxy or like a mid-tier in between the agent and your database. There's no separate service to deploy. This is all running locally on my machine. So getting up and started with this takes less than 5 minutes. The other nice thing is we're 100% allowing the existing database security to define what your agentic experience is with the database. So if in my agent and I ask for a connection and I tell it to use a connection that's using my Jeff account, I'm going to be able to do anything that that Jeff account in the database is allowed to do. And more importantly, I'm not going to be able to do anything that my Jeff account is not able to do. The MCP server will broadcast these tools and descriptions of the tools to the agent. So you can clearly just start talking to your database. I don't have to call these tools out by name. I can, in my own way of speaking, ask the agent, "Hey, let's go connect to my Oracle database, the XYZ one, and let's go find out like what's available in my database, and let's find a fun table and start exploring it." And just by using those regular everyday words, the agent's going to be able to tell, "Oh, okay, I probably need to use this available MCP server, and I probably need to start with this tool called list connections." That's going to provide back a list of database connections it can use to then go and request a connection. So it'll make a connection by name. Once it's connected, then it's going to be able to do natural language to SQL operations or PL/SQL. So when I say, "Hey, let's go find out about my database," it could run queries against the dictionary to get back a list of tables, or it could also use the schema information tool, which is sort of a optimized version of that, where we have hard-coded queries to bring back a very nice summary of the schema so that your agent isn't burning up tokens and generating queries to go deep dive our dictionary. We just give you a straight up list of objects and what those objects do. And of course, we have a tool for disconnecting when we're done. This model is very nice because, again, the agent is not working with the database directly. It's working with this sort of person in the middle, the MCP server. The MCP server, in this case, SQLcl, it's managing the credentials. It's keeping those secure. Those are never being shared back with the agent. So this is local MCP server architecture. I'm going to be running my MCP server on my machine, just like I would be with SQL Developer or SQL Plus or SQLcl, or even if I had an Excel spreadsheet with an ODBC driver connecting to my database. It's all here on my machine. There's just a different way of saying what I just put out there, but I think this is important to cover multiple times because it can be confusing, like who is responsible for what work. I, the person, will ultimately responsible for everything that's happening in my database. So I always want to be plugged in here and reviewing everything that's happening. The agent will take my request and put together a plan. And then it's going to try to execute that plan if we tell it to. So it just depends if you're in plan mode or if you're in sort of execute mode. The language learning model the agent is using is generally what is constructing the code, the SQL, the PL/SQL. The exceptions for that would be maybe you're using a skill and the skill specifies the code, or maybe in your prompt you've given it the exact code that you want to run. The agent and the LLM will make a tool request to our MCP server. And if it is, for example, the run SQL tool, it will include the SQL that it wants to run. Our MCP server, SQLcl, is what's responsible for brokering the connection for making the query or the PL/SQL block of code to execute on the database. And it's responsible for getting the results back and then formatting that in a way nicely to bring back down to the agent. So if you don't like the query or the PL/SQL block that's being submitted to the database for it to be executed, you need to go back to your agent and change your prompt or interject and say, hey, I see what you're doing, but I think this is a better way. Our MCP server is really just there to make the request the agent is generating possible to be executed on the database. Our MCP server is not responsible for the code that you see coming across from the agent. Natural language to SQL is sort of a game changer. It allows me to sort of talk to my database, and it really lowers the learning curve. It sort of democratizes access to your data. It's great. However, um, having an agent understand the contents of your database can be a costly exercise. So generally what will happen if you don't tell it where it can find your data, it will start to go look for it. And looking for it means running a bunch of queries against the dictionary, looking for tables or views with keywords that sort of match up to what I've described in my request. To make this much easier, cheaper, faster, and more accurate, one of our tools that we provide is this schema information tool. This allows the agent to request for sort of a roadmap to your database environment, and it will bring back everything the agent generally needs to know to generate really good SQL right out of the box. Let's talk about security. The same things Oracle professionals have been talking about for the last 30 years still apply today, but now they are even more important because I don't have just a person interacting with my database. I have a person using one or more agents that can employ many, many workers to go work on my behalf, to perform actions on the database. And agents are very much about making me, the person, happy. So if it runs into a problem in the database and it wants to get around that, it'll try. So it's very important that the privileges that you have granted to the user in the database that the agent is using on your behalf, make sure those are locked down. If I'm chatting with my data in the database and that's all we're doing today, and I'm not a developer, for example, I'm going to want an account that's very close to being read-only, that only has grants for selects and reads on very specific tables, and even better, on views that have uh, personally identifiable information either not included or perhaps they've been redacted. Another great tip is to just work an environment that's already been sanitized. Perhaps it's a read-only data guard instance. Perhaps that instance is set up for reporting and all of the sensitive and PII data has already been stripped out. That's a great environment to run an agent in with our MCP server. However, you still want to make sure it's monitored and you want to make sure that the queries that are being executed make sense. And most importantly, don't trust, always verify. So if I'm in my agent, it's going to start making a lot of requests to make me happy. I'm going to be tempted to say, hey, let's just allow for session because I get tired of going back and forth. You want to stay in charge. You want to review every single request that comes into that database to make sure it's accurate. And more importantly, so that you can understand what it's doing to get you to the answer, so you can have more confidence that the answer it's given you is right. Why is this a big deal for our customers? The MCP server allows me to bring my own LLM and my own agent to any Oracle database. MCP is LLM and agent agnostic, so you can build your own setup. You can run a local LLM, or you can use whatever popular commercial offering is out there, or you could use a mix of those. The way we've implemented this, it works for all of your Oracle databases across versions, architectures, and deployments. And since our MCP server allows you to do anything your Oracle database account can do, it means the use cases for this are unlimited and it's applicable regardless of what your role is. And since it relies on database security, it's going to make it more practical and more safe, and it should be useful right out of the box. Here's an example of what an agent can do with your data once it has access to it via our MCP server. Let's say I have an ERP application running that's tracking my business. And I want to say, let's simulate if we have a interruption in our supply chain for a month. What sort of problems would that cause in our business? The agent can construct a plan to go into the database and get a feel for like what the schema looks like and find the tables of interest, an inventory table, a shipping table, a parts table, a suppliers table, an orders table. And the agent and the LLM have already been trained on, global shipping or commercial business practices, and it will just start constructing queries to go put together this risk analysis. So this is a simulation of a real solution that a customer of ours ran with our technology. And the agent was able to come up with this really nice report and actually action items for addressing these issues by running less than 15 queries against their database. AI is nothing without data, and some of the most important data in the world is being stored in your Oracle database. So just imagine the sort of conversations or chats you can have with your data with an agent powered by our MCP server. Again, like I said, all of this is free. We have a couple of places you can go to make this even easier. I'm going to recommend the Fast Lab. So if you go to the middle QR code where it says livelabsoracle.com, or the Exploring SQLcl MCP server, the second or the third one, that's where I'm going to suggest you go to. That's going to give you everything you need to start playing with this right away, and we're going to provide everything so you don't have to go set anything up. All right, we've reached the end. Before we let you go, just a few things. First, thanks so much for the time today. I know that's expensive. We appreciate you attending. I really want you to check out this channel. Consider subscribing. Lots and lots of other great related topics, including AI vector search, REST APIs, all kinds of goodies. And my fellow coworkers have put a lot of time and energy in putting that out there to make our AI database as approachable and easy to use as possible. And what we've learned today, I hope, is just why the MCP ecosystem has grown so fast, because it easily allows you to connect your favorite AI technology to your favorite data platform, in this case, Oracle AI Database. So if you need help getting started, you're going to see some resources shared alongside this video, and I highly recommend you go check those out. So thanks again, and until I see you next time, happy Oracling.